We're Dr. Sandra Southard, Dr. Fern Webb, Dr. Juan Luque, and Dr. Lourdes Vazconde Garbonate, co-leads for the Community Outreach and Engagement Corps of the Florida, California Cancer Research, Education, and Engagement Health Equity Center. CaRE2 is a bicoastal cancer research and training center that brings together researchers from Florida A&M University, the University of Florida, and the University of Southern California.
We CaRE2 Health Equity Center is funded by the National Cancer Institute Center for Reducing Cancer Health Disparities. CaRE2 is committed to eliminating cancer health disparities and promoting health equity among Black, African American, and Hispano and Latino adults living in California and in Florida.
Our center focuses on 3 specific cancers: prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, and lung cancer. We want to welcome you all who are listening to our We CaRE2 podcast.
Now we would like to introduce you to our host for this first season, Pastor Rhonda Holbert. She's a breast cancer survivor and an advocate, and the founder and CEO of the Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry, which is a nonprofit multicultural organization available to anyone affected by cancer and their families. Pastor Rhonda also serves as one of our CaRE2 Community Advisory Board members.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the We CaRE2 podcast. This is a conversation on cancer in our community. Join us as we explore the journeys of resilience and triumph in the lives of many people touched by cancer. Each episode delves into a unique challenge faced by the community in dealing with cancer and illuminates the intersection of health and hope. Today, I have joining me Mr. Mars. Mr. Mars, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, I'm Mars Robles. Thank you for having me here on this podcast.
And we actually sit together on a CaRE2 project that involves academia and community scientists, researchers, and we get loads and loads of great information on a regular basis. And as community members, we have the opportunity to give our input to share. We can make sure that the researchers and academia direction that they're taking their work is definitely inclusive of our perspective and our experiences. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, very, very much so.
All right. So today we want to talk to you about your personal journey. I am a cancer survivor as well. And so we would like to hear from you and your journey. So Mars, what were you doing before you were diagnosed?
Before I was diagnosed, I had been a truck driver for 5 years. So I had career-wise, I was okay, like in terms of career, because after 1 year, you're kind of set, and I had a lot of freedom. And I was also running. I really liked running. I was getting back to like fitness and exercising. I had just gotten over a 3-year relationship, so I was starting to look for a new relationship as well. And it was all in the middle of this that I got cancer at 26 in the year 2020. And the interesting part is I noticed that I got it a day after I fell in the shower and I went to a race. And then after the race, I couldn't, because I was in pain after the race on my leg, and I couldn't like walk around anymore. I'd walk around and I couldn't breathe, and then I'd start blacking out. So at some point I decided like, oh, you know what? It's probably a muscle injury, so I'm gonna stay home. So I decided to stay home and recover. But like most of us, I stayed home and tried to recover for like 3 months thinking it was a muscle injury. And then at the time I had found a girlfriend that I was starting to get to know. And she tried to massage it, and I was like screaming in pain. So we were like, this isn't normal. And so we went to the ER, and at the ER, they ended up telling me, not that I had cancer, but they said, hey, there's a mass here after doing, it was a certain type of scan. It was like gel, and they just kind of like scanned it. I forget what
Like
it was.
an ultrasound, maybe?
It looked like it, but it was, because it wasn't a CT, it wasn't an MRI, it was just an ER, like a cheap scan. But it was enough to tell that the mass was there. And then I got very lucky because Bakersfield's not very well known for for their cancer discoveries or for saving lives in cancer. So the doctor there was, I guess, one in training who was trying to become a better doctor, and he told me, "Hey, don't get treated in Bakersfield." He said, "Go to
Oh, wow.
UCLA or USC."
Okay.
So
Well, that was nice to have him tell you that.
yeah, yeah, it was very nice. That was what was going on before I got cancer,
So what type of cancer were you diagnosed with?
Synovial sarcoma.
And is that a blood cancer? Is that a
So
what is
sarcomas fall under the tumor type of cancer.
okay.
And synovial just means it can either attach to the muscle or the ligaments, if I remember correctly, and sometimes the
Oh,
bone, but it attaches mainly to like muscle and ligaments.
okay. Wow. All right. So then once they told you that, what was the line of treatment?
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Doctor Who. He's definitely a specialist in his area. I got very lucky to be treated by him. I don't think I would still have the quality of life without him and the way he treated me as a patient, like that patient doctor conventionality, but also like being treated as a human is something I can say Doctor Who really does, and I think it's extremely important in treatment. So that would be the one thing I would say first. And then secondly, well, my line of treatment is very linear per se for the actual sarcoma itself, synovial sarcoma. So they did something, first of all, they weren't sure if it was synovial or, man, there's another one. I can't remember the name right now, but they weren't sure what cancer it was exactly. And the other one required a more aggressive treatment. So they tested it out by basically doing a biopsy. And while they waited on the biopsy to make sure that the tumor would shrink, they started giving me treatment. And so they started with like doxorubicin and a couple other drugs, but I just remember doxorubicin. And doxorubicin is considered like the Red Death or something. It's a one of the more powerful chemo drugs. And I was completely out of it. It was like 3 days and then 3 weeks at home. So you can imagine how powerful it is to, only do 3 days at the hospital and then have you home for 3 weeks. And I don't remember most of that particular treatment, that beginning one. But after that, after they figure out what it was, synovial sarcoma, with the biopsy, they put me on something called AIM for 6 treatments. Then they decided to lower it down to 5 treatments. And at that point, they said, "Hey, we're going to do surgery," because it turned out it was a pretty big tumor. It was on my thigh and it looked like a muscle. It looked like it was just part of my leg, like my muscles had grown. So they said they had to remove it because that's like the solution to actually becoming cancer free, is they had to remove the tumor. So they did a treatment AIM, and I remember just being really angry because I was like under treatment. I don't remember exactly what I was angry about, but I was very angry during treatment. And I just kind of slept and didn't really talk to anyone. And then once the 5 treatments were up, then after that, they did surgery. They made me aware there was going to be radiation, and they gave me the choice between doing radiation before the surgery or after the surgery. And that was a very interesting thing because you had the surgeon telling you do it after, because doing it before, it's going to make it hard for me as a surgeon, but he wouldn't tell you that. He just explained you could have a chance of like infections happening and stuff like that, his side. And he was very detailed on it. And the other doctor, which radiation doctor, was saying, "Hey, you should do it before instead of after, because these are the side effects more long-term. You won't be able to bend your leg. You're never going to run again." And a couple other options. And then also the surgeon also gave me the choice of, well, do you want to do a leg saving surgery or do you want to have your leg amputated at the knee? So I was like debating it, because with now foresight, there are some pros to getting it amputated compared to what people think. There are some big pros. They make you very aware that if you decide to keep it, you won't be able to run. You won't be able to bend your leg. That's not a lie. That's a truth. The radiation will completely make it to where any progress you do in physical therapy or walking, if you don't continue, it will just go right back to ground zero, which is about 40-degree bend, which is livable. But if you get it amputated, you might have the chance of actually bending it all the way with a prosthetic, which might be something that is more important to you. And so I made the choice of doing radiation after, because I was very scared of the surgery. I wasn't aware I was scared. I thought I was more getting prepared, but I was very scared of the surgery. And I was like, well, if the surgery goes wrong because they radiated before, I'm not going to feel too good with an infection and all that. So I did it after. They did the surgery, and I was technically cancer-free at that point.
Wow. So how did you tell your family about that?
Family. That was my family to this day, because I've now had cancer for 4 years. To this day, that is a delicate subject with all my family. I almost forgot because I made a family out of like the people around me, not just my close family. I think the way I went about it, and I'm pretty sure I spoke with my now fiance, she was my girlfriend at the time, was I just didn't tell some of them. That was my thing. I didn't have social media presence to begin with. I did when I was in high school and like middle school, but like after high school, I just kind of came to the conclusion I don't care much for social media. So I like lost all my passwords, Instagram, Facebook, everything. I never got them back till very recently. And I just never used it. And so because I never used it, I didn't have a presence online. So, a lot of people don't realize how much of a presence online gives you. And when you don't have it, you can become almost like a ghost. You can just live your life, just stay in touch with who you want. I really personally enjoy that. So I had done that already by the time this came around. And so growing up, I only had some family that was close. I don't have that big of a family. I have like my 2 brothers. I have Ivan, who's my middle brother, and he's going to be the first one getting married. He's getting married like this Thursday or tomorrow. He's getting married tomorrow. I'll be at his wedding. And then I have
Really exciting.
yeah, it's very exciting. I'm very happy. I was at treatment just recently, like a week ago. That was all I was thinking about. I was like, I get to go to a wedding, get to go to my brother's wedding. So I was looking forward to that. But then I have my youngest brother, because I'm 30. I'm 30. So my middle brother would be 29 or 28. And then my youngest brother is 28 or 27, because we're all pretty close to each other. And like we were always growing together. It was us. My mom's side of the family was all in Mexico. So my mom, I think, made them aware, but I didn't really stay in touch with them as much. My mom's side of the family is big, but they're all in Mexico. So I didn't really take care of making them aware. I made my mom kind of take care of that. And then my dad's side of the family is pretty small. It's just my dad, his sister, his mom, and his dad, which is my grandpa. I wasn't really in touch with my grandpa as much. I had been as a child and going to church, and with his new wife, who he's been with many, many years now. But my grandma never really stayed in touch with her. My aunt never really stayed in touch with her. And the only person in my dad's family we really stayed in touch with was his cousin, Rick. Like we would go to his house all the time. And he's a really, really nice guy, but he can be very sensitive. So I remember when he heard the news, he didn't know how to handle it. Him and his wife were pretty scared for me. I think that's a very common thing that I noticed. And I don't actually know if it helps or if it hurts us as patients when our family is more scared for us than we are the actual thing. I don't actually know the solution. I've tried to figure it out. Maybe it's a communication thing. Maybe it's just, but in the beginning, I was already pretty scared. So to have other people be more scared for me wasn't always helpful. I'll put it like that. So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
my family was great, but they were small. So there wasn't really much that can happen to actually help me. So the only people who took the news good, I would say per se, were my brothers and my mom. Like, I got to give a shout out to my mom. To this day, she gave up everything, just to kind of take care of me. She's like, make that her life. And luckily, I've been blessed enough to where I was able to repay that, like by giving her a job as IHSS and everything. But she would have done it regardless. And I think that's something that's extremely important, is to have someone who does that for you when you're going through cancer. So yeah, the family who knew, and the family who didn't know, they didn't know. And I just kind of kept living my life. That in the beginning, that's kind of the way it was. Kind of, let's just get through it day by day. And I wasn't too happy in the beginning. I do remember that.
Teddy, you definitely provided us some hope because you had a girlfriend who's now a fiance. Tell that story.
Okay, so that story in itself, that's a big one. I don't think because I've literally had arguments with like best friends on my fiance side, and on my side, my friends really don't ask questions. I think that's a good thing. But at the same time, you know, her side, like her friends, like their girls, they ask questions or like, why do you do things this way? But it's a completely different thing to be in a relationship when you're healthy than when it is when you're unhealthy and sick. And it's not as easy as we're just going to get through it. Like there are days when you have to talk about it because you're both at your breaking points and you guys just kind of want to get it over with. It's normal. I would say it's human, I would say. Because like in a healthy relationship, what do you want? You want to have fun times. You want to, you know, get to know the person. And when you're unhealthy, some of those moments aren't there exactly when you want them. You can still create them, but there are times when like when you have to rest and these are things that have to be communicated. So the relationship thing started with me breaking up with a relationship of 3 years, right? Being heartbroken, kind of keeping to myself. And then my brother, of course, the one who's getting married now, Ivan, he was like trying to get me out of my shell. My best friend would literally unlock my door and bring me food and like wash dishes because my house was piling up because I was so heartbroken. And then my brother got me out of shell. He went to a race called the Rio Bravo Rumble, which is a 5K. And he's like, I'm going to do it. He's like, why don't you come out? Like, you should just come out. And this was like right before I knew I had cancer. So I was like, okay. So I went out there with him, and there was this girl, her name was Victoria, and I had met her while I was still in a relationship before. But I had just noticed two things about her. So we had gone to a party, and I've only noticed two things. It wasn't even like physical because she was extremely tall. So that was easy to remember. She was 6 feet and I was 6 feet at the time. I'm now a little shorter because of the surgery. That kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And so I noticed that she was very respectful and that she was a good hoster. Like she knew how to host a party, and she made sure everyone. And I thought that was very important. I like the fact that she was respectful, and like those two things kind of caught my eye, and I kept it in the back of my mind. And she happened to be going to this race. She had posted a photo on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'm going out. Might as well make her aware. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be at that race. So I told her I'd be there. And I was like, hey, we should all hang out, just say hi, like at the race. And then we went to the race. And I was there with my brother's ex's puppy. At the time, it was a dog called Sage. This dog just like loved food and like chilling with us. My brother went to do the race. I ate pizza and stayed with the puppy to watch the race. And then afterwards, I saw her, and that was how it started. I saw her, and the thing is, my memories have gotten lost, but I do remember that. I remember there was something special there. I was like, I'm either gonna be with this person, or I'm not going to be with them at all. I remember that. I remember that feeling. And then she from her side, she will tell you that she knew that we were meant to be together. So I met her and we started talking a little bit. Apparently, I was a catch eating pizza on a Friday instead of a Saturday. So it turned out we both liked exercising because we were both exercising at the time, and that we both really liked dogs. So we started there. We started like, hey, why don't we, along like my cousins and stuff, because I had dogs. We had like all a dog date, all of us, like as friends, and we went to a place called Wind Wolves. We took all our dogs, and I got to meet her and everything. And my cousin told me directly, because my cousin didn't like my ex, but she had never told me. She told me, hey, I like this one better. Like she's better than the other one. So I was like, oh, okay.
So you're moving up the ladder.
Yeah. And then from there, she was also like trying to get into running. I was really into running. And so I started running with her, practicing. I was practicing for a race, the one I ended up doing, where it turned out that like afterwards I couldn't run anymore from the injury. So yeah, like we just got to know each other. We started hanging out a bit more. And this was like right before I got told that I had cancer. So I'd only known her for about 3 months. I got her into anime. We were watching Castlevania because remember at that point in 2020, COVID came around. So suddenly we couldn't go out anymore. So we would like do like sit-ups and push-ups on our Zooms together when we talk over the phone from far away. And then when we could see each other, we'd watch anime, which like Castlevania and stuff. She doesn't like anime, but she enjoyed Castlevania. So we watched Castlevania together. And we just got to know each other. And then I got cancer literally 3 months later. So she had to make a choice. But she was already making a choice to stay there. But I tried to push her away. I did. I tried to push her away 3 times in the beginning of my cancer treatment. The third time she got really, really mad at me. And she said, you don't get to make that choice for me. But she was really mad. So
Mars, I think I need to meet her. She's a jewel of a woman.
Yeah. So that was all the beginning. Is that enough information? Because I can bring her up throughout the story as we get more into the later stages of my cancer for sure. But that was the beginning of how we met.
All right. So how much time was it between diagnosis, survivorship, and then being told you were metastatic? Were you ever at a stage where they were saying, everything is good? And how was that survivorship mode?
So between diagnosis and survivorship was about, I want to say 6 months. That's what I want to say it was. Because it's really hard to remember my treatments. I remember one very well because I've done it over and over, but it wasn't in the beginning. AIM, I believe, was a week treatment and then 3 weeks home, something like that. But it would fall under like a month of time. And it was about 5 or 6 of those. So I want to say that was about 6 months of that. Because I got surgery around October. It was around October. And so from there, radiation itself took maybe 2 months max. But there was a time after that where I was considered cancer-free for 3 months. I was told at the beginning that, it's only in your leg. And basically, if they do the chemo along with radiation and surgery, that's the only way to get rid of a tumor type cancer, sarcomas. You have to do surgery. Now you have to be very careful because they have to they don't just cut like the area of the tumor. They have to cut a good little portion around it. And so, that's what ends up impacting significantly because you can get those areas where there's other organs and stuff. And in my case, they had to take out three muscles, I believe, 3 or 2 muscles in my thigh. They had to take out 2 muscles in my thigh. They had to put a carbon fiber rod through my femur. They did the surgery through my knee, and it left a big old scar on my thigh, on my knee. And on top of that, after the radiation, I couldn't bend it anymore. So that was also another thing. But besides all that stuff, technically I was cancer-free after all that was done. And I was cancer-free for 3 months. Now, they had told me before, Dr. Who had made me aware, they had done some scans and they had seen some nodules in my lungs. They're like, we're not sure if it's cancer or not. We're just going to keep an eye on it, which I think is very important to bring up just because you want to hope really badly to be cancer-free. Do not give up on checking on yourself because the cancer adapts extremely fast. And I can't tell you the amount of times, because I've been in the hospital volunteering, but also like when I go for treatment, I go help out other patients. They're there. Most of them are bored or it's their first time. I just go talk to them, kind of get their perspective, try to make them aware of things that I wasn't aware in the beginning that I would have loved to be aware of. And one of those is no matter how hopeful you are, I guess the word is don't be ignorant. The word, like, stay informed. If your doctor tells you to go get checked up every 3 months, like stay on top of it, because the moment cancer comes back, there's sometimes, or if you don't catch it good enough, that's it. But if doctors are on top of it, they will catch it.
So I'm sorry, Mars. So are we saying to keep up with your general practitioner or with the oncologist team?
With the
And I say that,
oncologist.
okay, because I say that in my journey, I was always bringing everything to my oncologist. And one day she told me, she said, Rhonda, everything is not cancer. So close to your general practitioner. I'm like, okay. But I was doing the same thing, keeping up with what was going on.
So I'm not saying bring up everything to the oncologist, but whatever the oncologist tells you to stay on top of, I think you should take it even more serious than your own regular, like, stuff that you check up on. Because with cancer, when I speak to their patients who are there for like their second, third time, what I hear a lot is that they were very happy that they were cancer-free. They were cancer-free for 5, 10 years, 6 years, 20 years, whatever. And then they let down on how much they were checking on it. Not because their doctor told them to let down, because their doctor was recommending 3 to 6 months. And I would say 3 months is actually the quickest way to catch it. 6 months is a little too slow on some of these cancers that grow really fast, like mine. And so they let it down. They continue to live in their life. And then this time when they're coming around, they're like, man, I have a lot more complications and all this because the cancer snuck up on them. That's the general gist of it. And so going along that information with survivorship, I was very happy when I was given the information that I was cancer free, but I was also very aware that it could come back. So I kind of just like, I went to school for the first time. So I hadn't gone to college for the first time. So I hadn't gone to college and I never gotten good grades in regular school. That's another story in itself. But I actually was doing good in college. I was doing like ASL. I think it's ASL, American Sign Language. I was really liking it. I was doing like math and English, and I was like studying with other people. And I had learned too while I was there that there's like the different types of people college. There are people there to party and have fun, and there's people who are really trying to study. And it's like if you meet those people who are really trying to study, like you won't do too bad. You will not do too bad because some of them are incredibly intelligent and they'll teach you their ways and their tricks, like how to do it. So I was like actually learning this stuff because I had never been good at school. That was my idea of it. And it was in between this, like on a final test, like a finals, that I was given diagnosis that the cancer had come back. So I was really down. I didn't take it good. But in my head, I remembered one thing, that first time when I'd gotten treated, I had been very angry and I'd been suffering a lot. And this is not for me to say that everyone goes through this, but I came to the conclusion that a lot of what I went through, which was negative in the hospital, was by my own choice. That was the conclusion I came to. I came to the conclusion like I can't get rid of the side effects. I can't get rid of the fact that I have to do these drugs, but I can probably change my lifestyle and my habits in a way that I can probably enjoy or at least get through life a little easier. Right? Because that first time I came to the conclusion that was my fault, 100%. I was like, you know what? It's not my fault I got cancer, but I shouldn't have been as angry. I shouldn't have this. Like it really hurt me a lot to do it that way. And so I tried to learn a different way. And the way I learned was more about going with the flow. I read a book. I can't remember the title anymore. I started reading the Bible a bit more. Not like reading the Bible because it's hard for me, but I would read like a text per day. It was a way of like keeping my faith and my peace up. It was very important for me. And so that second time around, I kind of came in with a new mentality. That's kind of what happened with giving the new information of being metastatic. And it took me a little while. I knew that I had to go with the flow. And I knew at that point when the doctor checked me up again and told me, hey, it's in your lungs, that it was going to be for life. Because the second time doctor who spoke to me, he just said, hey, man, I'm just going to be upfront with you. You're probably going to have cancer for life, because we can't do the surgery. It's not that we don't want to. It's that you have a certain amount of tumors, and insurance plays a big part on what you're actually given in treatment. Some treatments you could be cancer-free, but insurance won't do certain things. They just won't do it. So for me, they made me very aware it was just going to be treatment at that point. And surgery was off the table, which meant that I would have cancer for life. So that was the transition to metastatic. That's kind of how it went.
How did you feel when they said that?
When they said it, when they first said it, I was, I was devastated. But like I said, at that point, I had already, because once they told me I was going to get treatment again, it meant I was going to be in a hospital again, which I had thought as my prison the first time around. And so the first thing for me was to not think that a hospital was a prison anymore, like me preparing for those things. And so when they said it, yeah, I will admit, like I was devastated. Like my life was going to change forever. I knew that, the fact that they said I was going to keep it. But also with that new mentality of kind of go with the flow, it kind of goes, well, what can I do about it, right? What's the point of like losing my mind over it when I can't do anything about it? The only thing I can do about it is, well, I'm going to be in this hospital for a long period of time, like 2 weeks at a time. Maybe I should learn to, live in the hospital in a way that I enjoy. And that's a big word for me. Enjoy. Like you don't have to be in the hospital and just completely not enjoy it. It's very possible to be in the hospital and enjoy it. It's not going to be 24/7, but it is possible.
There are some nice professional healthcare professionals. They have sense of humor. They know how to, when you're in a good mood or a decent mood, and I say mood based on how you're feeling regarding the medication and what have you. There are many of them that really want you to get better. And what do we call it now? A new normal. To live and enjoy that new normal, because what we had yesterday is not possible soon, right? So we can just adjust to the new normal and to be able to enjoy it. It's like the vision I have in my head right now are little children in the hospital, because every year Celebrate Life takes gifts to children with cancer, and we kind of make it Christmas in July. And those little people are pushing their IVs, they're in their little wagons, and they're just laughing and enjoying life. And why can't adults enjoy life like little children, right?
No, yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Because now at the stage where I'm at, when I go to the hospital for 2 weeks at a time, it's my second home. It's a hotel that has to treat me to the point where I get adapted so well, and I come back home. It takes me a while to adapt back to home life. It's because of changing that mentality to like, hey, I don't want it to be a prison. And I really think that particular idea is extremely dangerous and toxic. I do think so, very much.
So how do you balance the treatment and maintaining that good quality of life? How do you balance it?
The way I balanced it started off was first trying to figure out what did I want in life, right? Like now that my life is this, because that idea of accepting that cancer is for life is a hard one. I don't think it should be undermined to anyone who gets told that type of information, that they take a long time to process that, because it's a very hard idea to process. It takes a lot of different coping strategies, and on top of it, it takes a plan. Well, if this is going to be your life, well, you need a plan. What is your, and I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to plan the next week and all this, but you need a plan of what you want your life to turn out like, even though you have this diagnosis. And also you need a plan. Well, if I do pass away from this, well, did I do exactly what I wanted? Do I have any regrets? And people usually don't think too much about that till you're given that type of information. So it takes a little bit of time to figure out. For me, I think the figuring out for me was, well, now that I have this, I think I want a community, right? And luckily I found like the AYAs, and I found a lot of other communities, but AYA is the one that I fit in right now. And I know that very clearly.
What is AYA?
Adult young adolescents. It's basically cancer patients between the ages of 18 to 39. I'm sorry. My fiance just got home.
Will we get to meet her?
Yeah, you can meet her.
Hello, fiance. What's your name?
Victoria.
I want to thank you for being a strong, motivated, and encouraging woman, especially in Mars life.
Thank you. I have my support. I have my 3 dogs.
We do have 3 dogs.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you get back to it. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
All right.
My fiance.
All right, Victoria, superwoman. So you talked a little about your support, but you also mentioned having a greater outlook on the future.
Yeah.
So what's your future look like, Mars?
Well, that's the truth. I don't really know. I can only prepare for certain things, like maybe 2 to 5 years in advance. 5 years is a long run. 2 years I can prepare. And 1 year, just 1 year passes way too quickly during treatment.
Absolutely.
Thinking about it like that. So when it comes to my outlook of life, so I know I have some goals. Like I know I want to be married. I want to have kids if possible, And when it comes to like what I want to leave my family if I pass away, I just want them to remember them having a good time with me. I don't want them to like be thinking about like, my situation. I think about my situation enough. I don't think they should be thinking about it for me and letting it take up space in their mind. That's how I kind of go about it.
That's pretty good. Because, you know, a lot of people, like you said, they just don't plan. They don't think beyond the right now. But we have, you know, for every day that we have breath, that is an opportunity to plan. There's an opportunity to appreciate the sun coming up and the sun going down, only to see it come up again tomorrow, right? And to have the hope that this moment is real and not to waste time. Can you relate to any of that, not wasting time?
I don't really like the word waste because time kind of passes by on its own, whether you realize it or not. But I think being aware of it will really make you use your time in a way that you want, is effective, and will get the goal that you want done in that moment, or maybe in the coming moments. But the point is being aware of it. I don't think people are aware that time just passes whether you do nothing or not. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing nothing. As a matter of fact, when you're really low on energy or your mind, doing nothing is a great move. It's perfect for that moment. But when you do have
Absolutely.
energy, I suggest go do something that you want.
And I think one of the things that you have chosen to do is being a part of CaRE2. How has CaRE2, the program, the initiative with California and Florida and the team at USC, how has that been a blessing in your life?
I'll say it's by far the most professional and effectively run program I've been a part of yet. Because I've been a part of multiple programs. I've been a part of CaRE2, the AYD committee. I've worked at USC with the ION program itself in many of their projects. The CaRE2, what I like about them is they're so well organized and they treat you like family, which is it's gonna be hard for me to get to open up because I don't really know them all that well. I just kind of joined, right? It takes me a little while in general to get to know people. I can see people and adapt to what they do best and be like, I want to do that better, like whatever that ability is. But getting to know someone, I personally think when you have to open up back up and really get to know them is a hard thing to do. You can be there and help them, you can be a good person to them, but getting to know them, that's another thing, right? For me, it's hard. But the CaRE2 program, yeah, they treat me really well. They're willing to train their people, which I think is very, very awesome. That's really, really cool that they do that. But I like how well organized they are. I'm a very organized person. You know, they let you know ahead of time that they cancel a meeting. They have like updates on what's going on. A lot of people have good heart when they create programs, but they're not always that organized. And it can cause a little frustration when you're a person who goes in there and wants to really help out the patients. And you're like, why is nothing getting done? So that's just my perspective.
So my next question is, what advice would you give to others who are newly diagnosed with metastatic cancer?
I'd say there's two stages to it. Metastatic, there is some that could be cured, but most are for life. So if it's just spread and you still have that hope of being cancer-free, I wouldn't say get rid of it 100%. I'd say keep it, right? Because, you know, getting back to your normal quality of life is a pretty good thing for the people that I see get it. And I've seen a lot of people get that, even though they're metastatic. So I'd say keep that hope, right? Whatever it may be, the chance to want to get back to normal life, don't get rid of it just yet. But I would say if it's for life, the one advice I would give is say, maybe get rid of the idea that you want to be cancer-free. Now, it doesn't mean it may not happen, but I'd say just don't hold on to it and prepare more for a life with cancer. And in that case, when the cancer maybe does go away someday, it'll be just a surprise for you as it was for anyone else, but you lived just fine when you had the idea that you were going to have cancer. Well, not just fine, you enjoyed life to its fullest when you had the idea you would have cancer for life. You didn't let that boggle you down or bring you down. You just kind of said, you know what? We go with the punches. Let's keep going. Let's enjoy life to its fullest with this new hurdle that was thrown my way.
Wow, that's pretty good. Because I've often thought about it because, reoccurrence in my world is great possibility. And I often have thought, what if? But I think if we hold on to the hope of having a good life, the best life that we can have at this moment, then I believe that that is something that could carry us through to the next phase, that will help us to continue to fight for every breath that we have. And that brings me to start wrapping up our conversation today. Is there anything that you wish that there's anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say yet?
I guess the last thing I will say is the people that I have seen win this fight, 'cause I've seen a couple win, lose, I've seen a couple give up, and there's nothing wrong with that choice either. Usually when you give up, something when it's a lot of pain, that's the common thing I've seen. And I can only imagine what it's like to go through that amount of pain to just say, hey, even though I have a wife and kids, I can't do this anymore. Right? It has to be in a normal amount of pain to be doing that choice. It's not an easy choice. So I think what I will say is all the people that I kind of see be happy believe in something. And I'm not sure why that is exactly. I personally am Christian, I believe in like resurrection and not living in sickness and death, like Revelation, I believe 13:4 says, if I remember correctly, and that does give me some sense of peace, even planning for my future. If I was to die, well, I'm going to be resurrected. I get to see my family again, And so I know there are people in here that maybe, they have different beliefs or maybe no, but what I've seen is the people who are the happiest believe in something. They have faith in something other than themselves. So I would just give a suggestion. Believe in something other than yourself and you might surprise yourself.
That's an excellent idea and recommendation. Thank you, Mars, so much for taking your time to share your story. I've been wanting to hear your story for so long, and I'm now glad. And I see it was truly worth the wait.
Thank you.
So thank you once again for joining us on We CaRE2, the podcast, as we wrap up our story today with Mars as he shared his testimony of being diagnosed, his survivorship, and all the way through his life in the metastatic cancer world. Much hope, much love, much support to you, Mars. Until we meet again, know that we care.